is it that sets electromechanical instruments apart from the other electrophones? Primarily, there is a mechanical component to it. Electricity is involved in the mechanical action that causes the sound vibration. So if you recall the clavecin électrique that we looked at from Unit 1, one of the earliest, if not the earliest, electrophones that we know of. This machine was created in 1759. Essentially, static electricity drove a beater to beat between two bells of the same pitch, causing the sound vibrations to happen. Another really wonderful example is the Telharmonium, the first of which came out in 1897. We talked a little bit about Thaddeus Cahill's invention in Unit 1. Our text in this unit goes into the story of the Telharmonium in much greater detail. But essentially, the mechanical action that drives the sound in the case of the Telharmonium were these ginormous tone wheels. And if you recall, there was a tone wheel shaped in such a way that it would sound a certain pitch when it spun in the presence of an electromagnetic field. Those peaks and valleys moved those electrons in that field up and down, or back and forth, at the precise rate at which a frequency of a pitch would be heard. And Thaddeus Cahill, knowing about overtones and the overtone series, generated a series of smaller and smaller tone wheels that would reflect the ratio of frequencies related to that fundamental. So the instrumentalist could simply choose which tone wheels to enact above that fundamental tone wheel, and thereby, by what we call additive synthesis, by adding waves upon waves, would create a certain waveform, which means it would come out sounding at a certain timbre. So this is the first instance where someone has taken the principles of electricity and the principles of the overtone series to generate pitch and timbre from scratch. And this was in 1897. So each tone wheel, or he called it a rotor, each rotor was connected to a key on the keyboard, and the peaks and valleys in that tone wheel were shaped to produce that fundamental frequency, as well as a set of 6 ascending harmonic overtones above it. There's a great description of this instrument from 1906. Thomas Martin says that the performer at its keyboard, instead of playing upon air in the pipes, plays upon the electric current that is being generated in a large number of small dynamo-electric machines of the alternating current type. In each alternator, the current surges to and fro at a different frequency or rate of speed, thousands and thousands of times a minute. And this current, as it reaches the telephone at the near or the distant station, causes the diaphragm of that instrument to emit a musical note characteristic of that current whenever it is generated at just that frequency or rate of vibration in the circuit. Remember that we didn't have speakers yet, except in the new technology of telephones. And so Cahill very cleverly sent those vibrations to telephones, by which his subscribers could listen to Telharmonium music. Some descriptions of the second rendition of the Telharmonium were that it weighed 200 tons and had the appearance of a power station. Martin's description included that it costed $1,000 a ton. It embodied 145 of inductor alternators, each mounted on an 11-inch shaft, and the heavy steel girder bed plate of the machine was over 60 feet long. The alternators were grouped in 8 sections, and the switchboards were in 10 sections, including nearly 2,000 switches. This was the predecessor of electromechanical instruments as well as synthesizers. And despite its initial success, the subscriber network for Telharmonium Hall failed due to the financial panic of 1907, and Telharmonic Hall had to be shut down in 1910. The third and final version of the Telharmonium was built in 1912 and did manage to stream music to Carnegie Hall, but 2 years later, Cahill filed for bankruptcy and all 3 of his Telharmoniums were sold for scrap. So sad.